Hello there, cats and kittens, felines and felidae, humans and variant humans, and every race, class, and subclass. Welcome to the final episode of the first season of One Shots from the Meowing Portal. It is bittersweet because we spent a significant amount of time uh, making the first few episodes, and it was never really a seamless transition, but it was one that we were always happy to get together, and I am very, very proud, to say that we worked well and we managed to put together a very decent first set of shows for this channel, and I want everybody to congratulate themselves for that. Go on, congratulate.
Thanks, me.
Yeah.
Great work.
You guys are terrific. I could not have picked out a better group of people to attempt this highly experimental show.
Aww.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun doing this with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I truly enjoy it. Thank you.
Yeah, same here.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, yeah, this is going to be the final episode of the first season. We can expect, laughs and tears. It's really kind of a mixed bag when it comes to, like I said, it was bittersweet. And that's exactly what I should have done. I should have just stayed with bittersweet. I could have gotten like 5 or 6 more cookies in me before we had started as well, but... All right, so let's go ahead and let's get started. Tonight's episode, The End of the Beginning, a one-shot from the Meowing Portal. We begin in a incredibly dark and black chamber against a vertical section of air. There is this eerie looking portal that looks like a pentagram turned vertical, and just sending off different whole spectrum of different multicolored lights into the room. And so in this dark and spectral chamber, first person that we have is that we have the Nameless One. He was the demon that was in the infernal realm that was encroached upon by Brainy and his friends when they were in search of River's journal. And in addition to that, we have Izatan, the icy former despot of the underground area of the Baron's Wasteland. So the Nameless One takes a moment, lights another cigar. As the room is so black, you can just really see the red tip of it as he draws it to a seemingly non-existent part of his face and inhales. I wonder what I'm going to have to answer for as soon as this begins to open.
Well, the Nameless One, and is pretty much huffing his cigar somehow. He is kind of tapping and scraping his claws against his hardened and ice cold skin. You will answer for many if you do not fulfill the terms of our deal. Oh, demon.
Yes. Go ahead and keep talking as though I owe you something. I could have left you in the middle of an anthill style grave for the rest of your life.
It's no, right? It matters not. But besides, the only thing keeping me from my goals is that little pest. As he says, gritting his many rows of teeth.
So don't fret about it. I have a feeling that all of our problems are just about set to disappear.
And how so? Well, after everything you've been saying, I have high expectations.
You have hard skin, hard expectations. You have a hard head.
Well, that's obvious. I'm covered head to toe in ice. It courses through my veins, even unlike you. You're so hot-headed, I wouldn't be surprised if some of that art is just a dull candle.
So we have everything that we're going to need in order to put this plan into motion. The last thing that we will require is going to be a cleric. He has already been summoned. This will be his first time meeting the both of us. So try to look as though you're a civilized being. In walks in this gentleman here. Is that clearly another individual of Marin species wearing a ceremonial cloak from head to toe with a spiral shell crown on his head, pretty similar to the conch shell that was on Uncle Brutus's, and holding a scepter that has a jellyfish at the tip of it.
He shuffles in very cautiously, as if he doesn't quite have his land legs yet, disoriented by the brimstone and by the heat. He walks in, holding on to his scepter for dear life, as if it's his own cane. And he looks at the two, sneering.
Ah, well...
And looks him up and scoffs. Really? I had a better image in my head than this waterlogged sack of flesh, demon. And this is the best you could do?
You're a lit candle from being exactly as soggy as he is.
As into the snarl. Well, like some of his icy aura, but kind of causing some steam from standing on the hot brimstone.
This priest is a little bit quiet, trying to drink in the words. It is a language that is not familiar to him, and the various wordplay seems to go over his head. However, he does speak up. You called me.
I think you would be a little bit happier to be in the presence of two who are as powerful as the gods that you always worshipped.
You are nothing but a god to me. Just another creature from the lands above.
Well, that's probably about as nice as I'm going to get it.
So long as you go along our deal.
Yes, we're all wheeling and dealing. We're all taking the entirety of the surface wholesale. Everything must go. Complete and total liquidation. Maybe that's not the right turn of phrase.
We'll correct you with that. At complete and utter extinction.
All right. So, all we need is a holy man in order to say the words, and we can finally be joined by the fourth in our little emotional exchange. Takes a moment to make air quotes with his claws.
Isotem pretty much does his best to kind of like roll whatever kinds of rolling eyes he could possibly have. It's a kind of a lifeless, pupilless eyes, and taking out the book he was given to by the nameless one, he tosses it over to the priest and says, Here, and read the one that has been marked cleric, and don't mess it up.
He takes the book in a huff. You landfolk always have been ungrateful. So he looks at the marked passage. Almost graciously, the prose seems to be translated into his very own language. what sounds like shrill shrieks and almost abysmal noises. The more he chants, the more the surroundings seem to summon something with tendrils.
Yes, long tendrils begin to appear out of this large pentagram-like portal that begins to shimmer, and it also begins to clutch along. As it clutches and it seems to pull outward, making the chamber shake. Loose rocks fall on the ground, despite all of this being an ethereal part of this chamber. And out of it emerges what appears to be a massive squid with endless amounts of tentacles. This has a strange, almost scarred and sinister and twisted look to it, almost like a leviathan or a great giant beast.
The priest is fascinated by what he has just summoned. A creature from the depths, just like him. Or at least appears to be.
Yes, I would rather have hoped I could have brought his disciple with us instead. He would have been a little bit less of a headache to deal with.
So in floats this massive squid with, again, a seemingly endless amount of tentacles, and from the monster comes one word: death.
Ika the Terrible, the old sweater girl. It's been a long time.
Quickly realizing his mistake, the priest turns to the unnamed one. What have you made me summon?
And Isaac quickly saps. Silence, cleric! If you do wish for the rewards of the bargains, you will not interrupt us.
You do not have any sort of power over me. You are subhuman at best.
Isaacson steps forward, or like every single step, like he's started to take closer. It's almost like the air starts to get colder, and it almost starts to suffocate him as it gets closer. Listen here, you shrivel. Hold up. Well, I will so much as rip out your intestines if you so much as dare as say such blasphemous things to me. You have no idea how much more power I hold over you.
Please, please, please. Not in front of the Eldritch Abomination. Ika, I understand that you've had a bit of a grudge with the realm of Primistera.
Much hatred do I hold in my being for Primistera and its inhabitants.
The Nameless One turns to the side and tells the other two she's always been sore that there has been an artificial form of life that has managed to gain sentience.
They house an abomination. It must be destroyed before it spreads to other parts of the universe.
Well, precisely the reason that we summoned you. I kind of thought you'd enjoy it if I just let you destroy the whole planet about that.
Yes. This is to my liking.
Well, everything is set into place. Let's go ahead and head over to the surface. We know that we can't keep our esteemed guests waiting. And then, in a plume of gray smoke, the Nameless One disappears, and in its place is this cat-like form that just looks like a completely black cat with wiry hair and a sinister-looking smile on his face. All right, so this takes us back to Brainy's chamber in Premistera. Our four heroes, Brainy, QB, Marin, and Autodoc Blue 37, are in the chamber along with Bosch, who is the headmaster of the entire library of Dinah, Goddess of All Knowledge. Ah, yes, well, this is a very eventous day. Pretty soon we're going to be heading to the court of the Crown Prince, and he will be deeming Marin Mermaid an ambassador to the entire realm of Premistera.
A deserved title, my friend, and Otto pats her on the back.
Oh, thanks. I'm more than honored. I was already...
Meanwhile, Cubays have been scribbling something on a piece of paper nearby.
Hey, Cuby. What are you drawing?
Oh, hearing Marin, Cube runs up to her and gives her the piece of paper, which is kind of crude, but you can just barely make out like everybody focus on Marin and being happy and saying happy ambassador for a day in the very bad writing.
Marin tries her best not to tear up a little bit. Oh my gosh, is that me?
Cube nods and hands the drawing it to Marin.
Thank you. I'll keep it really safe, okay? So she carefully folds it and puts it in her waterproof pouch to always have with her.
Otto
Cube
gives...
looking pretty happy. He goes back over to pay attention to what Bosch is saying.
Otto gives Cube a thumbs up and says, that's a most skillful rendering, little one.
Yes, this is all very wholesome. I thought that just before we get on with the ceremony, that we would have a little bit of a ceremony of our own right here in this chamber. Brainy, bring in the seals. And so Brainy trots in. He's holding a velvet pillow over his head. And on it are just 3 wax-stamped ribbons. Please take one of the seals and place it on your lapel.
Oh, all right. Fittingly enough, she picks the blue ribbon and affixes it on her lapel. Like this?
Yes, just so.
Otto will grab the green ribbon, and he doesn't really have a lapel to affix it onto, so he opens up part of his panels a little bit and wedges the pen in between the panel, and then kind of closes it back up.
The Cube takes the last ribbon, which happens to be the purple ribbon, and he actually manages to somewhat stitch it in and to where perfectly he matches with the rest of his other ribbons on his little outfit. Surprisingly well coordination.
Brainy chimes in and says, "Wow, this reminds me of the days when I was actually given my magic hat and I was inaugurated." Yes, this is not going to make you equivalent to a Wizard of Daenerys, but this is by far the highest honor that I can give to anybody who has been an ally of these halls.
We are most honored. Thank you.
Mhm. So, therefore, by the power vested in me by the goddess of Dinah, mistress of all knowledge, and the hallowed halls of the Library of Dinah, I hereby deem the three of you the Order of the Portal. And a small smattering of applause. When you travel additional realms, you will be given the ability to be recognized as one of the supporters of the library, just as Brady has.
Oh, that should make missions so much easier. We'll have our reputation preceding us.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily always a good thing. Well, anyway, that is all that I had hoped to impart upon you. Now, we all should be getting down to the Crown Prince's chamber for the ceremony.
Let us depart.
Cuvée quickly leads the group of leading Marin by the hand.
So,
Trails behind, moving more slowly because he is big and laborious.
So just like any other just any other time that we have walked through the halls of Metaluna, the city perpetually bathed in moonlight. We become nostalgic and we remember the times that Marin and Otto first came to this realm, walked through the market district and into the bricks district, where they had first met Brainy at the Cat's Pajamas Inn.
You ever think that things would have turned out this way?
Certainly not. But I am glad that they have. It has been a wonderful experience getting to be your friend and companion. I am most pleased at the development that the connection to this place has instilled in me.
I am too. I actually feel like I belong here now. It's strange. I spent 5 years on the surface world, just searching for a friend. And even though I still haven't found him, I can still at least keep his memory while I still stay with you.
You have found not just a friend, you have found a family while you searched for your friend. And I think that there is something to be said for that.
Well, I'm very happy that, everything has worked out between all of us so far. Believe me when I say I've seen adventuring parties go in precisely the opposite direction.
A shame, but I think, in a way, the way we all work out is just because we know what it's like to be alone. As long as we're together, then we're not lonely, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Cuvée is happy to be with family.
Otto comes in and kind of hugs Marin and scoops Cuvée up and kind of nods at Brainy to come in and join in.
As Brainy goes over and, as usual, just kind of clings to his to Otto's leg as he's still walking forward, and that's his gesture of affection towards everybody.
Ah.
Okay, so I'm going to need everybody to roll perceptions.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God, here we go.
For me, that is 0 successes.
Honestly, it's almost kind of fitting, just like, yeah, everyone's so happy that they're not going to notice a thing.
Yeah, except for Cube, who surprisingly has a decent amount of perception for something that's 24/7 wearing a potato sack on his head.
Oh, it's spider senses.
Literally. Spidey senses are tingling.
This is Cube tingle.
Do not call it that!
Yeah, don't call it that.
Oh, come on, it's fun.
We're not going the route of the Peter tingle.
Okay, so Otto gave me his successes. What are your successes?
I got 2+ and a 4+.
Mm-hmm. So that's a 2.
I only had a 6+.
Mm-hmm. So, just out of the corner of your eyes, you peer down an alley, and you just kind of see this complete little total black shadowy figure just skitter across it very quickly. Walks through, several of, the eaves that characterize many of the walls around here, and then just disappeared to the other side.
Cube, confused like this, actually kind of starts getting up to where, like, he's not being really cradled on his hand, but is actually standing on and looking around to see wherever that thing went.
Mm-hmm. Well, you look in the direction that you thought you saw it, and you don't see anything. You just see the opposite end of a wall.
Huh, that's strange. You saw that too?
Cube nods. Cube thought Cube saw something.
It was definitely something. Raised the cackles on the back of my fur for a half of a second there.
Otto is like, I detect nothing.
Maybe it was just an alley cat?
Cube don't know.
I resemble Arrowmart.
Oh, whoops.
Ooh,
Sorry.
ow.
So, you find yourselves at the Crown Prince's courtyard. There's a whole royal procession. There are buglers. There are several knights standing between the eaves of the courtyard, holding their swords in salute. Several members of the townfolk, including some of the members of the Bricks that we had already met. Lolly the Goblin is there, and so is Tanaka the White Dragon, and
His grandson?
yeah, grandson Deiroku. Tanaka's grandson Deiroku.
And Tanaka sits there, twirling his mustache and puffing on a pipe while giving Deiroku some silent instruction of some variety or another that only those two can hear.
And so continue to walk up to the center of the red carpet. The Crown Prince stands up from his throne, takes 2 steps forward. He's holding a silver sword with a gold hilt at the right of his in his right hand. And so he approaches and he says, Marin Merlunanth, please kneel.
She does so.
And so he raises a silver sword. And he's about to bring it to Marin's shoulder when you just hear a loud, "Stop!" at the end of the corridor.
Oh, no. She
Yeah.
recognizes the voice in an instant. She doesn't even have to turn around. She just cringes. And so, at the opposite end of the hall, of a middle-aged priest slowly stumbles in, holding on to that cane. Marin looks up at the prince, still not standing up, since she had been told to kneel.
The prince merely brings his sword backwards. And he says, "Who dares to interrupt the officiation of a priestess in my realm of Metaluna?"
Yeah, Cuve's already starting to get on the defensive. He's kind of standing in front of where he's kind of standing behind Marin, like making sure like he's between her and this random priest. He's already starting to hiss a bit.
A panel opens up in the upper thigh of Otto, and out pops the handle of Anomaly Corrector. Then Otto pulls it out.
Please. Even if you had attacked on sight, I would have been able to take you down in one fell swoop. That is not what I am here for. Marin says,
"Perhaps you might want to start with who is he, Marin?"
Really? All this time, frittering on the surface world, fraternizing with surface dwellers, and you did not bother to introduce me. You always did have a bit of a rude, rebellious streak to you.
Well, I guess you probably felt like you never really needed to.
Very well. I am Henricus, head priest of... Former head priest. Right. Your uncle always did dote on you, giving you every single thing you wanted. When your parents could not control you and your wild temper, our uncle took you in. When you had caused troubles by rescuing outsiders.
And as soon as he says that a massive sword suddenly embeds itself right next to his foot, which Cuve had thrown right at him. And he simply growls, "Go away! Hey, you make everyone unhappy."
This guy has all of the earmarks of where Hazmet's been.
Seems you've taught them your attitude.
So almost immediately, one of the Crown Prince's knives reaches forward and just pulls the sword from the ground, is giving a hard look towards QB.
And so Henricus steps a little bit closer. And the moment you left the surface world, for an outsider you hardly knew, your uncle welcomed you with open arms, even gifted you ambassador. Tell me, do you really think you earned any of this?
Otto steps physically, kind of closer to Marin to, show support and put a hand on her shoulder.
And Cube's already activated his gauntlets. He was more than ready to just absolutely go and maul this mean person right in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Otto, I'm going to need a will. I'm going to need you to roll willpower.
Oh no.
That is, how about 4 successes.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So
Hey, nice.
So something really unexpected happens is that Otto gives a jolt. He spasms several times, and then he just falls forward as though he were a suit of armor onto the ground directly in front of him. Smoke seems to emit from his ears and from behind his neck.
What did you do to him?
Brainy immediately walks open and then opens up the panel that is on the back of his head. Funny, it doesn't look like anything is wrong. This must have had some sort of a glitch.
Yes. Always presumptuous. I had not dared to touch it. Marin doesn't even pay attention to the taunts anymore. She just cradles Otto.
The Crown Prince speaks up. Say, nevertheless, Marin's entourage has a point. You still have yet to state your business.
I am simply here to warn of what is yet to come. And to possibly consider why this former Triton priestess is given the position of power that she has.
She was given it because we say so, Brinny chimes in. Now, why don't you go ahead and turn around and make sure the door doesn't hit you on the dorsal fin on the way out? Which would be more significant if there was actually a door in the doorway, but never mind.
For once I picked up on that pun of yours. Just know this. This planet is going to be destroyed in 24 hours. What? Yes. It has already begun.
And then no sooner does he begin to say it that the ground begins to rumble.
Ooh. Is Isaiah can do for a good supervillain entrance?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. And it has the red light. He continues to get a bit louder. And one of the knights says, "Hey, is something wrong with the heat getting in here?" Or when all of a sudden, and like there is a big explosion near one of the walls, but it's not one of flame and fire. It's of sheer cold and ice. As the crowd is scattered, or it starts fleeing as like the inside of the castle has been completely blown in, but also the force of the explosion is completely frozen in on impact.
The Crown Prince immediately sheathes his sword and says, "Men, get the citizens out of here." And so, yeah, the knight... And then the knights, help to escort everybody else out of the building.
And while this is happening, from the thick, cold fog from the black south steps this gargantuan, slightly hunchback, reptile, similar or of sorts to what's the good cross-trackers name again? Yeah, it steps a hulking, hunched over reptilian, and is similar, but in only but a few ways to Tanaka. Only this one is more hard and rigid. Whatever could have been in wings is but branches of a solidified ice with a tail snapped in two. Which immediately makes Kube freeze of fear, as he thought that he was done with it at this point. And coming in Isaacton and snarls was at the group. What? Did you seriously think I wasn't done with you yet, you parasite? Hate to roar, was directly at Cube using a giant spear, his large spear to knock over more debris that caused from the blast.
And so, just the act of that, the walls of the chamber just immediately begin to crumble. You see Brainy pull out the magic tarot deck to shuffle really quickly. Okay. Bring onto me a power that is going to be able to make us evade this disaster. And everybody glows in a large golden light, and everybody disappears from the chamber. They reappear in the market district of Metaluna. And already, immediately you can see how the earthquake has begun to raise the immediate vicinity.
Yeah, and all over the place, it seems like everything is freezing.
Oh, no. Oh.
How could this have happened? Just because of one ousted priest's prophecy.
Meanwhile, Cube's just standing there. He looks like he still has it in like a mood of like a second away from when he saw Islington, and he still looks like he's staring right at him, still petrified.
Mm-hmm. So from slightly behind the assembled group, in comes Lolly and Doroku.
Hey, and I saw something of what was going on outside before everything was being evacuated. What's going on?
Well, I'm fearing the worst, Brainy says. And in fearing the worst, you know what I have asked you to do, Doroku. Doroku grows a little bit pale. But we can't. I mean, we have to go back to the chamber and save Grandpa. Brainy looks up to him and he said, "Listen, we're not going to be able to get everybody out in time, but I know that you can just save the few that have been brought into the inner circle with us." Doroku heaves a huge sigh. All right. Come with me, Lolly. They turn around and they start actually heading back to the palace. As you know, still you see an enormous amount of
There seems to be a sharp spires of ice in the similar shape of what a cone like a blast would take the form of.
Mm-hmm. That I know that whatever I would have asked him to do, he's not going to stop until he has Tanaka back to safety as well.
Meanwhile, Cube just starts shaking and presumably just falls flat on his face.
As QB goes down, Otto actually starts to get back up again.
Involuntary machine voice kicks in and says, "Rebooting!" And Otto begins to shakily get kind of on his knees and kind of get from that crouched position to a standing position.
Marin tries to help him up.
And he is very heavy.
Yes, he's very heavy, so it's not very easy. She probably does not actually help that much, but she's trying, and that's what matters.
Yeah, meanwhile, Cube is just like kind of desperately clutching on to Marin in his clothes, and as he's clearly visibly shaking, none of you have ever seen him like this scared and genuinely terrified.
Realizing she's not going to be much help, Marin decides to focus on QB as well.
I'm hoping by it
out of it for a second, interrupt, but he's there. Or Cube can't let him do what he wants. Not again.
Now, we're going to regroup with the Denarians. if they have any solution towards this, then we're going to need to immediately put it into play. That's exactly what, that's precisely what Bosch's ribbons mean. Is from now on, we need to work in the service of the library.
Cube kind of looks at the ribbon, but also looks in the direction of the palace, and he says, but, kind of just like stammering the word but, as he's kind of breaking down.
Things will be okay. Cooler heads will prevail like they always do.
Otto kind of looks around and is, disoriented, and says, "Where has the priest gone?"
I guess in all the confusion we didn't see.
And Cube kind of looks at Otto and kind of points towards the palace where it's pretty much starting to be swelled up in ice.
Otto looks at that and looks at Cube and Marin and Brainy and says, "We have to do something about this."
But, my friends, there's nothing left for you to do.
What?
What?
Hello, angelfish.
No.
You turn around the corner and you see, what is unmistakably a wiry-looking black cat standing on one of the still vertical wall of one of the toppled buildings.
What? You were behind all of this?
Well, not all of it. For a very long time, Premister has been like a tick about to pop. It had merged with another planet in a galactic anomaly. And now everybody has more mana than what they hope, than they know what to do with. As usual, a person of my ability is only going to help that chaos along. You... Wait a minute, what is your name, by the way? I have no name. Call me what you will.
And Cube immediately blurts out, Beasley, well point. He goes straight at him, surprising even himself like somewhat.
I think you might have struck a nerve with Beasley there, QB.
Cube kind of snickers at the thought.
And says, we better not pick too much up on Beasley, because Beasley is sensitive, you know.
You know, Kiwi always did have a way with names. Isn't this great? Now I finally know what to call you when we beat you down.
He snorts. You almost see like the wisps of brimstone shoot out of his nostrils. See, the entire city is falling apart, and all you can do is name call.
Cube pretty much said, you asked.
See, you should have known that you were outclassed the moment that you walked into my realm.
Cube still says, you still asked.
Don't you have like a muzzle for that thing or something?
Cube can always take a bite out of Raggedy Beasley if want.
Otto steps forward and tells Beasley, you have come to the wrong place and picked the wrong fight. Stand down or be destroyed.
Oh, there's no fight to be had. This planet is doomed. You see him, crouch slightly, cross his forepaws over each other. Let me ask you all a simple question. how do you think you were able to escape so many tight spaces in the past?
Well, we did trick you that one time.
Cube knocked and he said, "Oh, dog didn't like you."
Hmm. At the time, I was willing to give you a chance. At the time, I was willing to let you have a bargain. And let me guess, you're about to suggest that Marin turn herself over to you now? He says, no. The very reason that you've been able to beat villain after villain after villain is because they gave you a choice. They wanted to play a game. They wanted to score you a deal. I'm not going to make that mistake. 24 hours. And he turns around and he leaps off of the wall. The earth begins to shake again.
As you can see, like the before cracks of the earth, what seems to be more or less like steves of ice cold are starting to erupt from them.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like opposite volcanic vents.
And in addition to that, the ground underneath everybody's feet begins to raise out. The dirt parts, and everybody sees themselves standing on top of what appears to be a giant tentacle.
So yeah, a very large kaiju-sized version of Ika rumbles up from beneath the ground, tentacle by tentacle, shoots up through the earth, and people, of course, are running and screaming and trying to seek shelter. And wherever one of these tentacles touches, people, like, they just basically desiccate and disintegrate and dissolve, like, in front of you. And you hear the massive rumble of Ika's voice say, "Death." Otto is finally on his feet, and he grabs Marin and Cube and Brainy, and he's like, "We have to get out of here now." And he starts going after he picks them all up. And the massive tentacles continue to erupt out of the ground, and now they're starting to topple buildings and bricks and glass and big tiles from roofs and things are starting to fall to the ground to hurt and maim people. And Ike continues to have smaller kind of tentacles erupt from the larger tentacles, and they wherever they touch people, they essentially drain the people of life.
So, as they begin to try to make their way back to the bricks, one tentacle immediately shoots up in front and latches onto Otto's chest. Brainy, who's on his shoulders, sees that nothing is happening, and then immediately touches that one tentacle with a flaming paw.
And the tentacle dissolves right in front of everybody. And Otto looks at Brainy and that's a useful spell.
It's not me, it was you. Whatever you're made of, it's something that this creature can't dispel.
And you hear a frustrated shriek from the giant Ika. She knows somewhere amidst her, vast network of tentacles coming out of her body, something just hurt and did not, allow her to consume the life essence that she touched. And she is frustratedly looking all for whereabouts that might have occurred in her network.
You're a So Brainy shouts out, "You're a consumer of life, but you're only a consumer of organic life. Even if everything was razed to the ground, I'm pretty sure that that all of the machinery within this realm is beyond your disrepair."
And the shrieking stops, and overhead comes a looming eye that, dilates and then retracts as it focuses on the itty bitty beings beneath it. You speak big for such a meaningless creature.
Rainy, I don't think you should have gotten her attention.
Point made. Let's continue running.
And as that, there's a giant booming roar, or in the distance, and with that is a blast, another blast of ice that instead of setting a gigantic spikes of ice raining down around on the group. And there's Isaac again, and slowly panting, spilling a large amount of frost from his wretched, decrepit mouth. There you are! You're not escaping me again, you worm! As he immediately bolts at full speed towards the group.
So if I go ahead, I have 4, right? Yeah, level 4. So if I can do that 4 times, see how successful it is, I wanted to see if I could shoot the water back at Izayton, because if he has that cold aura, then that means it'll freeze. Possibly either freezing onto his body or creating mist or anything that can obscure his vision for a moment.
All right, go ahead and roll.
Kind of obscured, isn't it?
Go ahead and roll your attack.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it was worth a shot.
It sure was.
Well, your assumption was correct that if, water were to come in contact with his aura, that it would freeze. The water came into contact with his aura, it froze, but his aura is actually 5 or 6 inches away from his body. So.
Wow.
And to shoot that right back, I got them in the form of ice darts.
So.
Alright, so that's gonna be elemental control, so 6D.
At the slightest.
To pull out his shield and try to put himself between the group and these flying ice shards. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll your defense with make sure that you add in the plus amount for your shield.
9 successes.
Nice.
And so, yeah, you easily raise your shield and you deflect the icicles as they're coming toward you. Then, at the sight that they might be raising a finger to him, he pulls out the what were they called again? They were called
oh god, the Shackle of Evolution?
Yeah, he pulls out the Shackle of Evolution.
Hey, oh boy. How dare you raise your finger at me, automaton, and how dare any of you who even dare to protect that wretched maggot? But so be it. If you wish so desperately to keep it safe, then you can die alongside it. As he puts on the crown in a blinding flash of color and light, he transforms into this monstrosity with whole wings of large veins of pure power connected to his now whole again tail. Now with his back like this, she's even taller and bigger as he lets out an even louder roar in utter rage.
At this point, Ika shouts, "No! The anomaly is mine to destroy!" And shoots some tentacles around Eiselstein, or I'm sorry, Iseton, sorry, and restrains him and begins to move the trunk of her body closer to him in an effort
as
to
she does it, this like her tentacles are freezing up, or eventually just shatter, or as he drops to the ground. How dare you who oppose me? That wretched little maggot is mine to kill. I started this massacre eons ago, and I refuse to let you be the one who kills it before I do. I am a god compared to you in this form, and you dare raise your voice at me, you lesser abomination.
They're fighting.
Now out of my way! Hey,
yeah,
as he,
they're definitely fighting. We should continue running.
Now!
Brady,
yes. QB.
Mm-hmm.
And
Cuba is very happy to be just like the Isotones are roaring, is like shattering glass.
And Otto kind of runs alongside the group and holds the shield above everybody's head to kind of protect from falling debris from buildings and shattering glass and bits of like brick and mortar and everything else that's like falling from above.
All right. So they, in the middle of the fight between Ika and Izeton, they managed to make it the rest of the way across to the bricks, to the inn, to the Cat's Pajamas Inn, and they managed to make it through the portal. Okay. Halfway through, entering the secret entrance, Brady pops out again. He gives a sharp whistle, and then immediately after them, Bartholomew, the bartender, runs in and into the portal as well. So, we return to Brady's chamber. So far, it looks like this place has been completely untouched. The halls adjacent to where Brainy's chamber are, there are other Denarians who are holding out their hands in an attempt to protect the entirety of the library using a force field.
Hold on, Molly's here?
No, Bartholomew is.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is more than just a day where nature has decided to clear his throat. Bartholomew dusts himself off. Okay. Never mind that, Barfy. Go ahead and go through the portal. I have set the coordinates for the Baron's Wasteland. You should meet up with any of the surviving people from town in there.
Oh boy, Bartholomew is scared by QB. He's not gonna like it there.
Mm-hmm. So Bartholomew steps through the portal. Brainy turns around and says, that was the plan that I had discussed with Deiroku. I know that I'm not going to be able to save everybody on the planet, but at least I'll be able to save a few of the people who are in Metaluna.
Cuba's still pretty out of breath from everything that just happened.
Otto says, surely we can do more.
Cuba nods. What do we do?
You know very well what you need to do. Bosch walks in from the exterior. Gosh, shouldn't have to come to this. Don't we have the magic? Don't we have the ability to save Premise Terra? I'm sorry, Brainy, but it cannot be done. Just as your Beasley had suggested, the entirety of the aura of the planet of Premistera was permanently altered when we had merged with the previous planet and become the realm of infinite mana. In essence, what his cohorts are doing is turning the entirety of that mana against us, which will undoubtedly lead to the destruction of the entire planet.
There's nothing.
There's only one thing left to do. We must engage in the library's all-purpose contingency plan.
Which is?
Okay, everybody into the portal. Brady heaves a sigh. I'm afraid he's right. Okay, everybody go through. I'll be right behind you.
Otto says, no, there must be something we can do. We can't just run this. There has to be some weakness, some advantage we can take against these beings. They're fighting amongst themselves. We can use that. We must fight.
We have the final advantage. We have the advantage of space and we have the advantage of time. Now hurry through.
Otto grudgingly steps through last after everybody else.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, Cube is pretty much the last to go in.
Mm-hmm.
And almost before, like, shaking his head, almost like trying to shake away tears, he quickly goes into the portal.
Mm-hmm. And so after everybody is in the portal, Brainy reaches out and he pulls on the sides of the portal. Everybody sees this seemingly bizarre and almost otherworldly sight of a portal inverting itself completely into itself and then pulling itself out to the other side and then reforming as a door. Everybody emerges in an area that just appears to be nothing but stars and cosmic radiation emanating for what looks like miles and miles and miles around them.
Is there a ground, or does that also appear to...
Rainy replies, there's a ground, but that's only because we have a tendency to believe that we are rooted on the ground. And he taps his foot paw on the ground, and it taps like there's a floor there, even though that there clearly isn't.
What is this place?
This is the void. This is what we understand to be one of millions of different areas in between dimensions that doesn't contain anything that reacts within the nature of reality. Denarian's contingency plan effectively involves every Denarian going through their respective interdimensional portal and winding up in one of these voids, after which they would probably attempt to regroup and discover an anomaly in time and space that has already undone the damage that has happened.
So we seek a version of Premastera that exists before these beings came to destroy it?
Well, unfortunately, something like that isn't going to work. All it would do is buy us the X amount of time that we would need before they would return and destroy Premastera again.
So how do we use time to our advantage to save Premastera?
The same way that you use time in the real world. You take your time. Brainy reaches into his hat, rifles around. He pulls out what looks like a bedroll. He unrolls it and it immediately pops up into a large tent. Walk into the tent. It is very spacious. It's about the same room. It looks as though it were like a mansion, but of a single room. And everything in the exterior of the walls and the floor, it just kind of seems to be made out of some version of cloth.
Well, I guess this doesn't work on logic anyway, right? So let's go. Whee! Yay!
Well, at least things won't be uncomfortable. Although I would warn you, don't wander too far away from the tent. Brainy walks up to a series of crates and he pulls out a crystal ball. He blows on it, rubs the dust off of it, puts it in the center of the room and waving his paws to say, "Show me what Premistera." The image comes on, and it almost looks the same as the void. It's just a large area of space surrounded by meteors that are floating up into the air. And so once again, we see Beasley just standing on one of these inert floating meteors, with Ika and Isaacton and Henricus also just free floating in the area surrounding the meteor. Well, I have to hand it to all of you. If you're good for nothing else, at least you're good enough at making a mess.
Ika is still angry with Isaacton and has turned from him. I'm assuming they've stopped fighting at this point. They're no longer physically
I'm pretty sure they have.
So like she's just turned away from him, and she says, "I am disappointed that the anomaly has escaped." The
Isaacton growls, "Oh, please! If you hadn't done anything, we would have both gotten our bounty. So silence! It's you're lucky I decided not to kill you then and there."
What do you gotta worry about? All they're left to do is float out there in the middle of the empty universe like suspended tin cans.
Isaacton growls, "If I am to know anything about those wretched invaders, is that they are not that easy to kill, demon."
Is that not what we are doing right now?
Silence, weakling. You're right. You should be grateful that I didn't kill you back there, when this Beasley, I presume what it is now. Ask me not to. Otherwise, I would have gladly had you on my wall.
Beasley.
This is
at
Isaacton.
Oh, Ika's on my side. Let's go.
And like rattles her tentacles in like a defensive manner at Isaacton. You are far too aggressive, and you direct your hostilities toward the incorrect parties. We should be working together to destroy the objects of our ire. We should not be fighting amongst ourselves.
You have an interesting proposal there, Ika. I have a different one. So, out of a small hole in the dimension, you see Beasley pull a large black scepter out of what seems to be a black hole. He strikes the ground with it, and within an instant, the other three villains are tied up in what just kind of appears to be a gravitational void. It twists them, and it turns them, and it makes them... It pulls them apart and together at the same time, and leaves them screaming in the sinew of a mortal being that is being torn apart by rapidly changing wisps of gravity. I think you're familiar with Merlin's law of magical displacement, aren't you, Isaitan? It's the very thing that gives you your power.
Hesitant snarls. I see you've noticed. I said I was dealing with that meddling cephalopod.
Well, unfortunately, the mana that existed in the Baron's Wasteland is a drop in the bucket compared to the mana that exists here in Premistera, which we've all destroyed. And the resulting magical item is this scepter. So, as per your proposal that from this point forward we work together, I would like to counter that you all work for me. From this point forward, I'm calling all the shots. And if anybody has anything to say against it, they can try to pry this scepter from my hands.
I don't think Ika has alright. I would think that Ika and Isaacson and Henricus could probably all sense the power radiating off of the scepter.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much. Given that it feels like they're constantly being torn to shreds right now.
Right. So, what can they possibly say? I mean, they're all
Exactly.
I'm assuming screaming and probably
Agony?
yeah, probably willing to comply with whatever stops that.
Yeah, pretty much. First, Isaacson, and growling in between the roars of pain, and he stormed. Oh, so fine then, I drop my dignity at your feet, you wretched and infernal scum. I'll follow your orders, but only because I'm obligated.
You flatter me. I think that might be just about the nicest thing that anybody's ever said.
Ika screams, or in between Ika's screams of pain, she says, I shall serve so long as you wield the scepter. Beware should you become disconnected from it, for my memory is long and my wrath is fierce.
Well, that makes two of us.
And Henricus?
Compared to the other two's practical god complex, Henricus is all but mortal. So, in between agonizing screaming, he pleads that he yields. He yields, please, just make it stop, make it stop, make it stop!
On your hands and knees. Unfortunately, the earth and the water doesn't separate you from being a completely pathetic human.
Isaacson sneers. Now that's one thing I can actually agree with you. Go on.
And so begrudgingly, he kneels. Though, the only amount of opposition that he has is a sneer.
I would suggest that you and Ika try to get along from this point in the future. If you kneel to her, you may be able to gain abilities akin to our poor late dear friend, Senric.
I may attempt to get along. This creature has defended my honor and dignity along the likes of him. He turns over to Izatan, looks back. However, I have my own god I worship.
As if Tim practically snarls, "Oh, please. Because as soon as you enter this bargain, you gave up that god a long time ago."
Well, hey, the Nile's a river in Egypt.
Ha, that's funny. Ika kind of turns toward Henricus and says, "Though you may have strayed from, the path of
Pontanus.
though you may have strayed from the path of Pontanus, I shall reward your fealty with great power." And she kind of like surrounds Henricus and tentacles around his kind of around his feet.
Power you'll be able to deploy once the two of you find the slightest puddle. Well, now everything is settled. I think we've all deserved a little bit of rest. He stamps the scepter on the floor and just immediately a throne made out of the same rock as a meteor pops out of the ground. And he curls up in the center of it. I suggest that the rest of you make yourselves comfortable.
As comfortable as we can.
We return to the tent. Everybody has seen what has just the entirety of the dialogue of the villains watching through Brainy's crystal ball.
What can we possibly do against beings of this level of might?
Brainy, after a brief pause, narrows his eyes.
Cube also, kind of pauses and then looks at Brainy and, kind of points to the ball, and then, points to the artifact that he's still wearing that he got from the Baron's Wastelands.
We're not going to do anything.
What?
Brainy pushes the crystal ball and it just rolls onto the floor and into one of the corners of the tent.
No, we must formulate a strategy. I mean, yes, beings are powerful, but again, we are what stands in their way. We must resist. It is on us.
You're right there, my old friend. It is on us. It's all on us. It's because we ventured to find Marin's partner. It's because we attempted to rebuild QB's realm. And it's because we attempted to reconnect you with a version of you from the past. That's why these four have managed to get so powerful. I don't know if we can be a solution to a problem that we created.
What are you suggesting? What action can we take?
I'm sending you all back to your homes.
What? No!
Cube's shocked as well. Oh, he's confused.
This is unacceptable, Brainy.
Cube won't leave.
Going back home isn't going to solve a thing.
But there's nothing that we can do. Not when we're the ones who just handed them all of this. When I had asked you guys to take on the mantle of my adventuring party, I had assumed that it would be so that we could correct anomalies, not create an anomaly that destroyed everything that I knew and loved and that I called home.
It was all of our home.
I'm all for courage, I'm all for nobility, but we failed. We tried,
Stammer.
but we failed.
Everybody's friends can fix it. We always fix it.
I don't know if that is even true anymore.
we can do more together than we can separately. Surely we can form some resistance to the threat that this grouping of evil poses.
Okay, maybe I can, but I'm going to need to work with the other Denarians for a while. That is, if they'll even accept me. Suppose they don't just lock me in a permanent kitty carrier for once they catch on to the fact that we opened up the infernal realm.
Oh, right, there was that. Oh no.
All right.
It was accident.
Brady walks over to the Meowing portal, winks at it. In. Otto, I'm returning you to Premistera 1 year after the Great War. You would be able to live a single lifetime before you ever encountered your past self there.
And Otto, just his body language tells the story. He's very dejected, and he stumbles over his words. He's like, "Brainy, this isn't. You know that this isn't right."
I know that it isn't right. That's why I'm going to need to be the one to try to make it right.
I shall endeavor to improve myself to meet the threat that we must take on.
You can start here. And he taps on the portal again.
And he sadly walks in to the portal.
Marin, without an additional word, he just pulls out the journal. I believe that in the time that you're away, you might have a few extra moments in order to continue to pursue this. In addition, if you actually manage to get that amulet back from your Uncle Brutus, you'll still have the key to interdimensional travel.
I don't know how that works. I don't know if I'll be able to find you or Otto or anyone.
Okay, you'll find him, and because you are with us, you will find him. And he hands her the journal.
I don't want to leave you.
I'll be okay.
The most stubborn out of all of them.
I'll be okay. God willing, when this is all over, Metaluna will be restored, and you will be able to take your rightful place again.
Do I even deserve it anymore if it only ends up like this?
Does anybody? Do I? And he taps on the portal.
Well, if you've considered all the options, and this is the only way we can work through things. She kneels down and gives Brainy a hug.
Mm-hmm. And he hugs her back.
And before she leaves too, she gives QB a big long hug too. Oh, thank you.
QB is kind of sniffling.
I'll find you, alright. I know I'm scared, but I'll try to be brave, okay? I'll do that for you.
QB looks up at her and asks, "Promise?"
Pinky promise.
And they do a little pinky promise.
Alright. We're all gonna have to be brave now, alright? I'll see you again soon before you know it. and she waits until Kyubey is able to let go.
It takes him a while, but he finally manages to let go of her.
See you again soon. And so, she too, albeit begrudgingly and full of mixed feelings about her role, about Brainy's role, about whether or not she can even accomplish the promises that she set out now and 5 years ago. And yet, she steps through the portal.
Brady turns to QB.
Kyubey's the last one standing there. He's still standing there. He hasn't even really moved.
Anybody who was able to survive from the city of Metaluna will now be in the Barrens. It's going to be your responsibility that they continue to survive.
Kyubey is still kind of motionless, but he's starting to shake again. And before he knows it, he's completely crumpled down onto his knees.
Rainy approaches him. QB, when we found you, you were scared and lost. You didn't know yourself and you didn't know us. Now you are the leader of a realm all of your own.
Kyubey's practically buried his covered up face in his hands, and he's shaking even more as you start to hear what seems like crying.
Mm.
And he starts speaking. But Kyubey don't want to be alone again.
You won't be alone again. Mazel Thad will protect you. Show everybody the bravery that we showed you when we found you at the inn.
Kyubey looks at Brainy and it seems to be like one last gesture of good faith. He takes off his hood and reveals his face for him, like his messy hair and his big yellow glowing eyes are now overflowing with what seems to be a honey-colored tears. And Kyubey stammers, was Kyubey a good hero?
QB was the best hero.
And Kyubey kind of drops down again and just kind of sobs into Bray's fur.
Okay, he lets him linger there. Past the back of his head. All right, now it's time to go.
Kyubey again tries to shake away the tears and kind of regaining his composure again, he puts his costume back on. And looking into the portal, he just charges in and runs it in head first, as if getting all that pent up anger, frustration, and just putting all that energy into doing what Bernie told him to do, to keep being a hero.
And so,
like that, he's gone.
So, this marks the ignominious end of the only recently christened Order of the Portal. What will become of our heroes now that they have parted ways? We'll figure that out after this break. All right, everybody. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for staying tuned in to One Shots from the Meowing Portal. I'm sure this has been a very emotional episode for everybody involved. Everybody can take, a little bit of a break, get some water, go to the bathroom, and everything like that, and then we'll come back for the final act of this last episode of the 12th season, the beginning of the end. One Shots from the Meowing Portal. We'll be right back. We're back. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this episode of One Shots from the Meowing Portal. When we last left off, the worst possible scenario occurred. And four arch-villains of our heroes, Beasley, the demonic cat, well, the demon who has chosen to recently take cat form, Izayton, the ice-powered former despot of the Baron's Wasteland, Ika the Terrible, the one who had driven Senric to madness and bears an immortal grudge against the automatons of Premistera, and Henricus, the sorcerer who regrettably ruined Marin's attempts at becoming an ambassador to the surface world. They all teamed up and destroyed the planet Premistera, leaving nothing behind but a nexus between dimensions. So, Brainy, having chosen to go on his own from this point, has sent every one of his three former party members back out into their respective dimensions. And so, one by one, we're going to describe what everybody has been doing since they had returned home. And so we'll start with QB.
All right. Hey, when QB has returned to the Barrens, he took that, saying of having to be a lead to her, making sure to single-handedly lead the others of his kind and against threats that could harm the inhabitants that managed to escape the world of Premistera before, whether that be from massive titanic reptiles or other such monsters. And he was also taken in measures in order to fight against Beatrice herself in order to help himself get stronger.
So yeah, he continues to get stronger against the environment of the Barrens. And yeah, many of the people that we had at the NPCs in Middle Lunar are there. Bartholomew.
Bartholomew's probably having a lot of trouble there, I reckon.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he's managed to make himself very useful because he's one of the few people in the realm that can cook at the moment.
Yeah, it's just like that again, mosquitoes that are bigger than people.
And Lolly the Goblin and QB's three also party members, Havoc, Vanessa, and
Deiroka.
Yeah, Deiroku. And he also managed to rescue his grandfather, who who is an ice dragon, so Izayton's attack did not harm him that badly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what has Marin been doing?
Marin has been traveling through the archipelago, and she's gathered the other Tritons, slowly introducing them to the surface world. Slowly but surely, they make a deal with the Duke. Not necessarily an uprising, but diplomacy. She's finally using her role as an ambassador to try to bring peace between the two lands.
So, this is having to, in order for Marin to do this, she's come back to the realm of Premistera a few years before it was actually destroyed in this event. So what is present is past is that a whole conglomeration of surface-dwelling mer people now exists within the realm of Premistera that didn't before.
Yes. And while there is the issue of certain pirating groups...
Meaning the Black Spot?
Yes, meaning them.
The worshippers of Beasley before he was Beasley.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm.
So now, for once, the Duke actually has allies, not bound by power and money, but by means of guardianship and protection. And though he still has a lot to learn, and is particularly still chatty, he's not nearly as purposefully abrasive and xenophobic as before.
A commendable change indeed. And now Otto.
In the year that Otto has been back in Premise Terra's past, before the events of the
Great War.
the war, he brought a version of Havoc. Well, he sought out a version of Havoc from that timeline because he knows Havoc to be, very proficient with tech, and has been working with him to essentially improve his own technical abilities from his body. So he now has, like an improved, blast, for instance, and he has an improved a swing line ability now that will allow him to travel faster. And he's done a few things to enhance his abilities to make himself a more efficient warrior and protector of life.
Mm-hmm. So there's one time that you're working with this alternate version of Havoc in the war-torn lands. He actually manages to discover something. Is that there was a component that was added to you at some point during the very day that Premistera was destroyed that wasn't part of your innate mechanical makeup at any time before that. And so he likens it to exactly the same situation as it was when Premistera merged two planets together and became the realm of infinite mana. And all he can determine at this point is that it is some kind of clock. It is something that's constantly measuring the months, the weeks, the days, hours, minutes, and seconds of every day.
Is it counting up or is it counting down?
It appears to be counting forward, yeah.
And so, obviously, Otto is going to be, curious about this, and will be trying to investigate that with Havoc over the course of the year that he is, on his own, whilst they are working on field testing and improving Otto's capabilities.
Mm-hmm. All right, so it's just one fateful day. While you're in the midst of all performing these individual activities, you receive a letter. Travelers, do you seek adventure, wish to see far-off lands, hope to find exotic riches, out for fame and fortune, or do you wish to be remembered as a truly immortal hero? We want you for the quest of several lifetimes. Seek your nearest portal acolyte and give them these coordinates. Then head to the Cat's Pajamas Inn. And perhaps you can also describe specifically what you were doing when you found the letter.
All right. So, Otto was in the process of field testing the improved blaster with Havoc, and so Otto and Havoc are conversing. Right after several targets have been destroyed as they tweak the new blast beam out of Otto. to fine tune it because putting out more power has caused it to spread out a little bit, and they're trying to get the beam to concentrate. So Havoc is sitting there, messing with Otto. He's got the blowtorch in one hand and the welding mask, and he's like, "I can't believe this doesn't hurt you, Otto. This is so crazy. I'm like right inside all your guts, man. It's crazy that this doesn't hurt you, but not even a little bit." And Otto's like, "No, I feel nothing. This is fine. I mean, my sensors register that there is an increase in heat. My sensors also register that my panel is open, but yeah, I don't register pain like a living being would." And then the scroll blows into the workshop, or I'm sorry, not scroll. The piece of paper blows into the workshop and lands smack right on the visor of Havoc's welding mask, and he's like, "Oh, what happened?" And he pulls it off of his welding mask and lifts the mask up, and he says, and he reads the contents out loud of the letter, and he's like, "Hey, what do you make of this?" And Otto says, "Well, hurry up and hurry and close me up. It is time for me to return."
All right, very good. And Marin or Kibi, either of you.
You go first, Marin.
Okay. Let me think for a second. I think I have an idea.
You want me to go first?
I think I got something. Because,
oh, okay.
I keep forgetting his name because I keep on calling him Foghorn.
Yeah, his name is the Archduke de La Fontaine.
La Fontaine, right. Right. But, didn't he know about Brainy beforehand?
I don't think
yeah, he did. He actually did, yes.
Okay.
Oh, right.
So then that works.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, do.
So as a customary meeting between the two, the Duke LaFontaine had invited Marin over for a feast. In his defense, he has been trying to understand the merfolk more. However, the meal prep is not one customary of merfolk. It is more along the lines of purely kelp or purely seaweed. You shouldn't have.
I say I garnered the understanding that the every merfolk was actually some form of vegetarian.
Well, much like surface dwellers, some are, but others do occasionally consume fish. She still takes the bowl and graciously eats. Anyways, you called me here for a reason?
Yes, I say, I got it in from the royal courtroom that there was actually a letter sent to you, directly, to the castle, and he hands her the scroll.
She opens up the scroll, and her eyes widen. Oh.
He sits down and he rolls up a piece of kelp like spaghetti and he eats it himself. This isn't too bad. I would reckon that it is fortified with lots of iron.
It is a very good supplement. I'll give you that. She's still looking over the letter. So it'd already been a year. So many things I've done, but yet it still feels like it's not enough. And yet, if I go back... So a lot has changed over the past year. And this letter is asking me to visit some coordinates. In my stead, I will pick out a right-hand man to take my place as ambassador.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Feel free. I know that I cannot keep you from the waters. I thank you very much for all the services that you have done for this isle.
Honestly, I'm really glad that we managed to work something out instead of fighting like... She tries to find another word to replace before, like barbarians.
Oh, no, yeah. I would definitely prefer never to be considered a barbarian. Sorry, there was a bit of a seashell in that.
Yeah, you gotta be careful to wash it beforehand. It does get rid of a little bit of the salt, but avoids any clams like that.
All right, well, I will not keep you another moment, my dear lady. Feel free to take any supplies that you need and any other resources that might be available to you.
She decides to pick up a sword this time around.
Yeah, about time.
About time, right?
Yeah, it's about time your sword and your little avatar thing made sense.
I think this and just a little bit more gold would do me some good. I mean, I've gotten by on less before. Just be cautious, alright? And, well, as always, be wary of the black spot.
Ever vigilant, my dear.
Thank you for everything. Don't hesitate to send a letter if there's any sort of emergency. I'll come running.
And so he nods.
And Marin heads out, wondering possibly if there's going to be any sort of paradoxes from them getting letters, and if there was anyone else, if there was alternate dimension versions of themselves also getting a letter around the same time.
I wonder.
All right. QB?
All right. Hey, and meanwhile, in the Baron's wasteland, and a Spinosaurus gives its last death whip, as it's brought down by some Arthropay, a warrior. And the two of them are talking to each other, and both of them look kind of like bees. And both of them have like double spears as weapon. And all right, we got another one. All right, and yeah, we're pretty lucky. This should feed everyone for at least another few months. And then one of them, while they're starting to collect it up to bring it back, like one of them notices is some things next to it, and what appears to be like an old a few old corpses and some scattered bags. Thanks. Looks like some others were so lucky. And the other says, whatever. And see, and glancing at the bag, the one who found the stuff, kind of looks and sees the flyer, and he calls over his buddy. Yeah, hey man, do you know what this? You seen this? And he says, well, I probably would, but we can't read, right? Right. And the other says, yeah, we can't really read. And so they ponder a bit, and so let's take this back with us. So it might be useful to like whoever back there can read, you know. And yeah, makes sense. But at least let's all get this big thing there first. And so like after a while they come back to the refugee village in like Titan Forest with their kill, and other various things, and and the other orthopasts are helping out with divvying up the fallen beasts, including Cube, who is just finished talking to his gang of misfits, who after seeing the others coming in with the kill, comes over to help. Young prince. It's we also found some other random stuff, but we can't read. You read, right? Hey, and Kive no. And just says, "Oh, great. So yeah, we found this thing, and so yeah, yeah. If you can't read it, at least I don't know, might be useful or something. Yeah, whatever. We'll help with this thing while you, I think, read that little prince." And then Cube, after he does read it, suddenly uh, falls suddenly falls motionless again, and then he suddenly full of energy. He immediately starts to run off with others saying, "Wait, Cube! Hey, young prince, where are you going?" In which Cube they quickly said, "It's like Cube has to go back. Cube going back." Heck, and pretty much everyone understanding what this means, as he's talked about this for what they think has been a year now. And they say, they're like, oh, the prince is going on his journey again. And yeah, go, Prince Cube. Hey, and Cube immediately runs off to Beatrice in order to start making his way back to his friends again.
All right. So, after everybody finds their nearest portal and enters the coordinates, we find ourselves back here again. It looks like nothing has changed within the tent. So, we return here again, and it looks like nothing has changed. Is that even for what you can remember, it looks exactly the way that it did when you guys had left. And at the moment, all you can see is each other, is that QB, Marin, and Otto all in the same room again.
Otto.
Cube, seeing Marin, immediately runs right for her and practically tackles her in a big hug.
Otto sees those two hugging and comes in and is like, "Oh, my dear friends, I'm so glad to see you once again." And he comes and joins in on the hug.
And Cube's just overjoyed, and he keeps saying, "Cube's friends are back."
Will I be back? But where's Brainy?
A fine reunion was had by all. You turn around and you see Brainy is partially hanging from one of the window shades. I was hoping to have all of these pulled down by the time you got back. Can somebody help me down?
Or you were trying to get those down, or were you just on the drapes because you're a cat and you like messing with drapes?
Okay, that is a stereotype. That is an awful stereotype. Can somebody let me down?
Okay. Okay, Cube goes to stand on the pillows to help bring you down with the curtains.
So yeah, he sprawls back down on the ground. Well, I'm sorry that I had taken so long. It's that I had to be absolutely sure that Beasley still wasn't listening in on us.
Cube pretty much says Cube didn't really know that time. Cube just waited.
I had spent the entire year just within here, just continuing to monitor the situation. As I was hoping, I was right. I'm sorry. I had made the successful wager that Beasley and his crew would have gotten a little bit lazy after conquering Premisera and would have gone their separate ways and sought separate areas of rulership.
That's good thinking. So where have they gone to?
For the time being, they're still in front of Premistera. But that's another thing that I did. I went ahead and I rewound that previous year. So today is not more than a single day after you guys had previously left.
Cube just looks confused. Like, he's trying to understand that the time was basically a year, but also, like, it was essentially a day, but also,
all that hard work I put with the Duke was for nothing?
No, I mean, technically it still happened in one area of time at one period.
Otto is counting on his fingers, and he's like, wait, so there's 3 of me that exist at this time?
I mean,
Cube still looks like he's probably buffering.
There's way more than 3 of anybody existing at multiple different times. Except for me, for some reason. I've never been able to fully figure that part out.
Maybe it's the Dinah thing.
Yeah, that's a very good possibility. All right, well, it's time to get back to work. Brenny takes a large tome.
What we do.
Brenny reaches over to a shelf and he pulls out a gigantic tome. It is virtually the size of him, and he sets it on the floor and flips it open. I was most fixated on what Beasley had previously said, that he was using Merlin's law of mana transference in order to create that gravitational scepter that is granting him all of his current powers. The other half of the law states that a different magical item of absolute good must also have been created when Premistera was destroyed.
Cube, once again, kind of like makes motions towards, like, his magical artifacts, and it says, like what Cube and Brainy talk about.
Yeah, the same thing that makes QB Shackle of Evolution. Exactly, the rule that created QB Shackle of Evolution is still in play. Only since the item that Beasley received is just as powerful and dark, we must find an equal and opposite equivalent within dimensions that is capable of countering it. And I think I've managed to find just the thing.
What is it?
It's a distillation of all hope, all of the hopes and dreams of everybody who ever existed on the planet. A single wish. He turns a page, and there just appears to be an image of a glowing orb in the middle of the page.
Where is it?
Well, that's the part that I don't know yet. Regrettably, in the year that we have been separated, I have not made contact with any of the other Denarians. I was hoping I'd at least have heard from Bosch now. But so far, I've really just been on my own doing this research.
An entire year by yourself?
Even Cube looks saddened at the thought.
It hasn't been easy. I mean, he gestures over to the side, and there's just a pile of empty tuna and sardine tins in the corner of the room.
At least you've been eating.
Well, I'm never going to miss out on that. So, what we're going to need to do is, for a short amount of time, we're going to return to business as usual. We're going to go through the Meowing portal, we're going to visit different dimensions, and we are going to try to do what we can in order to fix time and space anomalies throughout the universe. But as soon as we get an opportunity to figure out where this wish might have gone, we're going to capture it, and we're going to use it to return Premistera.
Yes, it's for the best.
Kibe nods.
Excellent. Let's get started.
I'm so happy that you guys are in agreement with this. Turns around and he flips a book down, and then he stands on top of it. I really missed you guys.
We missed you too.
Kibe missed everyone too.
It's good to be home amongst family.
And that is the episode. All right, everybody. So this is the end of the beginning, which is also the title of the episode. But as we go into season 2 of as we go into season 2 of One Shots from the Meowing Portal, we're going to be within this tent in the Nexus, continuing to provide one-shot adventures with the hopes of finding the wish that will restore Premistera to its previous state. So, thank you once again for tuning in. This has been a fantastic first season. And so,
Sure has.
And I couldn't have done it without my 3 very dedicated fellow party members, at Shy Buddy Servant as QB, at Mara Mermaid as Mara Metaluneth, who I believe is no longer at Mara Mermaid on Twitter. It's now Mara Mermaid on Blue Sky Social. Yeah. And also Game Night 00 as Autodoc Blue 37.
Yes, thank you. This has been a great time again.
Yeah, this has been a great time.
A season conclusion.
Absolutely. So we're probably going to go on a hiatus of probably approximately a month. In the meantime, we're working on some side stories, and the side stories are going to have to do a little bit with what Mara and QB and Otto were doing in the intervening year before they decided to return to Brainy. And so we'll be working on that. We'll be bringing those out soon. And before long, we'll send an announcement for when we're going to begin season 2 properly. So thank you, everybody, once again for tuning in. Remember, BRANY means smart. Nothing's too hard if you use your head. We'll see you soon. Once again, right here at One Shots from the Meowing Portal. Say good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. See ya.